have been asked to talk about the person who does a lot of air traveling. Well, candidly speaking, traveling through air is not very common among the people who are living around me, and this is mainly because air traveling is really exorbitant and it is still not affordable for an ordinary person. So, a very few people have this luxury in my friend circle, and I guess Jasprit, who is my close friend, he is the person who travels the most in my known circle, and I would like to talk about him. Well, he is of my age and he lives in my neighborhood, and we have been known to each other for donkey's years. Well, Jasprit travels very often through the aeroplane, almost twice in a month and sometimes more than this. He usually travels nationally, however sometimes he goes to overseas as well. He travels so often via air because of his profession. Actually, he is a stand-up comedian and he usually performs in different cities across the country and sometimes abroad. That means he has to do intensive traveling. Therefore, to reduce his traveling time and to save his energy to perform in his shows, he might prefer air traveling over other modes of traveling. Coincidentally, I asked him about his air traveling. Surprisingly, he is not very much pleased with his flying experience. He says air traveling is boring and not comfy in any sense, especially when you travel in the economy class. He often complains about the limited leg space, about uncomfortable seats, about blunt food, about the boring people who travel with him. On the other hand, he believes real air traveling is traveling in the business class, since it is extremely comfy. Unfortunately, he hasn't traveled in it as his pocket does not allow him to do so. Let me share my technique of preparing cue card. I do not believe in extraordinary vocabulary. I always believe in simplicity and fluency. So to achieve these two things, what I prefer, I believe that whenever you try to prepare any cue card, you should try to make some questions. You should ask some questions that you can give answer in this particular cue card. Let me tell you what I mean. Like this cue card, what could be the questions? What could be the various questions that we can answer in this cue card? So I divided the whole cue card into 4 or 5 questions and sometimes further questions in a particular question. So the first question, the first part of this cue card is just introduction. So there are different ways to prepare introductions. Some students try to prepare introduction about the importance of air traveling in our life, these kind of things. However, you can choose your own way of starting any cue card, and even some teachers, experienced teachers, they tell that we should start our cue card straightforwardly. I mean, directly giving the name of that person. For example, I can say about in this cue card that I would like to talk about Jasprit. I can start from here as well. However, to stretch the length a little bit of the cue card, I prefer that we should talk about the air traveling, what you know about air traveling and how much people prefer to do air traveling. We can talk about these kind of things. So similarly for other cue card, you can choose these kind of things as well. For example, there is another cue card that is talk about the family member with whom you spend most of the time. Again, I can prepare a similar introduction for this cue card as well. I can say that I live in a nuclear family and we are just 3 members in family, and I always try to spend as much time as I can spend with my family members, with my all family members. So Do you notice that what I'm doing in both the cue cards? I'm telling about my experience. I'm telling about my experience, what I feel about this topic in general. So this is the way, this is the, I guess, more easier way to start any cue card. Always try to talk about your experience about this particular situation, about air traveling, about spending time with family. So this is the easy way we can start any cue card. So after telling the name of that person, this is the end of the introduction. जब आपने उसका नाम बता दिया उस बंदे का, that means this is the end of the introduction. So what would be the next question? So next question is, in case of the cue card that are related with the person, I can describe that person. So your next motive is to describe that person. How you can describe that person? So in description of the person, I can talk about the age of that person. Sometimes I can talk about the appearance, and sometimes I can talk about his nature, and sometimes I can talk about his living place, and I can talk about my relation with him, and sometimes I can talk about how long you have been known to him, and even I can talk about the concept that how much he travel, how much he or she travels. Similarly, the cue card that is talk about the person with whom I spend a lot of time. In that particular cue card, I can talk about how much time I spend with him or her. So I hope you are getting my point. So this is how I can ask different questions in a particular questions. So after describing that person, now my next question would be, why this person travels so much? Why this person travels so much? Let me give you the reason. Explain the reason why that person is travel so much. You can explain one reason and properly develop that reason, or you can give two reason, one or two reason. I generally see students try to give reason in the introduction immediately, and they do not develop their reason. So and after telling the reason, they have nothing to speak about, so they stuck, and they struggle with the length of the cue card. So it is wise to keep your reason little bit later, and try to develop one or two reasons. So in this particular question, I gave the reason that he travels because of his profession. Clear? So now after explaining his reason of traveling, the next question is, does he enjoy air traveling? And now I have the option. I can say yes, he enjoys, and I can give the reason why he enjoys through traveling through the air. Or in this question, as I denied that he does not enjoy traveling through the air, and I tried to explain that why he does not enjoy traveling through the air. So in this particular question, I just answered 3 questions, and you can easily see I spoke about almost 2.5 minutes. So this is the technique that has been developed by me, and this technique is called question making techniques. So I highly recommend that students should make 4 to 5 questions for a particular cue card, and you can make sub questions of main questions, and just try to give answers of these questions. Another benefit of this technique is that if you have to remember the questions only, because if you remember the questions, you can easily give the answers. So that means it is very easy to cramp this cue card. Although I do not recommend that we should learn by heart. I personally recommend that we should learn how we can prepare cue card. So this is the motive of my preparing this video for you people. So I hope my techniques would be helpful for you, and I'm planning to prepare another videos for almost all the cue cards. So keep watching my videos. And secondly, on my channel I have prepared so many videos about reading explanations and about vocabularies. You must watch those videos. Even I am working for the students who are struggling with sentence formation, those who do not know how to make a proper sentence. And you can watch, if you have these problems, you can watch various videos about the sentence formation. You can do exercise as well. So thank you very much for watching till the end.